Hola, muy buenos días. Bienvenido a Desahogamiento. Hoy es el segundo parte de nuestra gente que tiene una sangre mezcla. Hoy es la realidad de personas en nuestra comunidad que tiene 8 partes de sangre de 8 países y el gente que está aquí en los Estados Unidos. So today, we're going to continue our series on mixed Latinx and Hispanic families. This is our Desahogamiento, a space to vent, para respirar, and to look at the hard truths facing our community here in Minnesota and across the country. Last time, we talked about the beauty of our blended identities. Today, we have to talk about the pressure points, the statistics of our unions, the shadow of enforcement, and the families caught in the middle. Let's start with the beautiful parts. Love in the numbers in Minnesota and nationwide. We often hear about the great melting pot in nuestro país. Pero por mucha gente es una realidad. According to the Pew Research Center and census data, about 11% of all married couples in the United States are interracial or interethnic. And what's the most common pairing? Una esposa de una país hispánico o Latinx y una esposa de los Estados Unidos que es blanca. This pairing para casarse for a Hispanic spouse and a white spouse makes up 42% of all interracial marriages en los Estados Unidos. Pienso que este es muy, muy guapo por nuestra gente, por nuestro país. It's so beautiful to hear that. So let's focus in on the Minnesota context. So here in Minnesota, our Hispanic and Latinx population is growing. Our population in Minnesota is now 6% identifying as either ethnically Hispanic or Latinx. While the majority of the community is from Mexico, which is about 62% of this 6% of our population here, we are seeing a massive rise in what they call mixed nativity marriages. So this is something that I found out as I was developing our episode of Desahogamiento today. So a mixed nativity marriage means una esposo se nació aquí en los Estados Unidos y esta persona es de el sangre de un otro país latino o hispánico. Por ejemplo, tengo una amiga que es de los Estados Unidos, se nació aquí, pero solamente es de los Estados Unidos. She was born here, so she's an American citizen, but her husband is from Peru. So she identifies as ethnically Peruvian, but she was born in this country. Her parents immigrated over here, and then she was the first generation born here, but then her husband is actually from Peru and she moved him over here. So this is becoming very popular, especially in the Midwest. We're seeing a lot of people who were born here and then they're marrying people from their family's motherland, as they say. So by 2050, it is projected that 1 in 5 newlyweds will have a spouse of a different race or ethnicity. So that's the beautiful part. But while love is crossing borders, the law is often reinforcing those borders. So let's get back to a topic I began to speak about last week in la semana pasado, Operation Metro Surge. This is the part that hits home. We've seen the headlines about Operation Metro Surge. It was a high-intensity law enforcement initiative that has targeted metropolitan hubs, including those in the Midwest, and most notably here in Minneapolis, where we had situations that made international headlines. As of early 2026, reports from the organizations like ProPublica and the Migration Policy Institute indicate there was a staggering surge of detention of parents who have U.S. citizen-born children. Los padres se nacieron en otros países, pero los hijos de estos padres son de los Estados Unidos. Y ese es un problema muy lástima. Mi corazón está rompió con este problema. In the first half of this year alone, authorities have arrested and detained parents of at least 11,000 U.S.-born citizen children. So we had at least 11,000 children born in this country, and their parents were snatched from their workplaces, from their homes, outside of schools, and taken into ICE detention, while their U.S.-born citizen children were left with questions. So we can call this the mixed status trap. Nationwide, there are over 5.3 million U.S. citizen children living with at least one undocumented parent. Under Operation Metro Surge, these children, born and raised in the U.S., face the de facto deportation of their entire support system. The data shows that nearly 60% of mothers, just mothers, solamente madres, detained in these surges are being removed without the chance to return home to their children, which is a sharp increase from previous years. No puedo imaginar que mi madre no está en mi casa cuando me devuelve de cola. Pienses con eso por un momentito. Eres un hijo, tiene ni más de 10 años, y cuando devuelve por cola, mamá y papá no está aquí en la casa. ¿Qué piensas? ¿Qué piensas? So where do they go? ¿Dónde está mamá? ¿Dónde está papá? When we talk about deportation, we often speak about it in abstractions. Es posiblemente porque la media no tiene la todo de la información para reportar por nuestra gente. But these are real flights to real places that we saw on TV. According to the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants and ICE removal data from 2025 to 2026, the most common countries of removal include, número uno, México. México es la primera país. El segundo país, Guatemala. El tercero país es Honduras. The fourth, El Salvador. El cinco país es Ecuador. Y aquí en Minnesota hay mucha gente. Tengo muchos amigos y vecinos de Ecuador. Es mi gente. I have so much love for my Ecuadorian friends. The sixth country nationwide for deportation is Colombia. And then the seventh is Venezuela. But Venezuela has an interesting intersection when it comes to the deportation statistics. They're often complicated by third country removal agreements, meaning that typically people from the aforementioned countries who are being deported back to them, that's their birth country. But for Venezuela, we have people from around the world being deported there, even though it's not their motherland, it's not their home country, but that's where they're going. Y este es un momento para un espejo. how can we reflect on this information and digest it without it breaking our hearts? There's hope because we live in this beautiful country where we can marry whoever we please, and that's happening every day. Una blanca y una hispánica o latino casarse. Y our children can grow up to have the mixed genes, una gente mezcla. But the hard reality is that, we still will see people move to this country from Latinx and Hispanic countries and have children here, and maybe they're going to be undocumented. Maybe they don't get the chance to live the life of freedom that they're looking for. So how do we hold both of these truths? That we are marrying and building and integrating into the American fabric at record rates, while simultaneously being extracted from it by operations like Metro Surge. If you're listening and your family is mixed, whether by race or by legal status, know that your story isn't just a statistic. It is the heart of the current American struggle. If you need resources for your neighbors, your friends, or for yourself, we have many legal resources available. You can contact Minnesota Latinx Radio, and we are here to support you and offer you connections that will aid and guide you to all of your goals with citizenship, marriage, and more. So we have one sponsor in particular who I would love to mention. Give me just a moment here. I want to make sure that I get her information perfectly because she is a great supporter of Minnesota Latinx Radio. Yeah. Yep. So, okay, here we go. La abogada Carla Santiago te ayuda con ajustes de estatus, visas y leyes de familia. En Santiago Legal tenemos el conocimiento necesario para reunir a tu familia y defender tus derechos. Haz tu cita hoy a las 612-810-7403. Ocho veces. Muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo hoy con Desahogamiento. Yo soy Dumashi Amable y ten un buen semana. Hasta luego.